Really, the Giants have to keep working to
Okay, what's going on there, ladies and gentlemen? Sorry about that. We're, trying to get everything going, trying to get it figured out. This is our first podcast, and we're excited to be here with you. This is going to be a wonderful thing. We're going to be doing it every week, every Wednesday at 6 p.m. We're going to be talking about all the New York sports in the tri-state area, big emphasis on football, but we're really, really excited to have you. My name is Harrison Glazer, and you're going to hear from our giant specialist right now who's going to tell you guys a little bit about how their season is going.
Well, Pierre, I'm also with you, and once again, Harrison, thanks so much for welcoming me to our show, the show that never sleeps. Well, the Giants unfortunately dropped another one. They dropped the 0-5 on the season now, and really in 4 to 5 games, they have been very competitive. They lost in the last second field goal to the Cowboys down in Big D by a final score of 37-34. Of course, the most unfortunate incident coming out of that matchup was the very nasty leg injury to Dak Prescott, and we certainly hope for a speedy recovery for that young man, no question about it. But Giants took a 17-3 lead early in the ball game, but they gave that up, unfortunately. But then it was really toe-to-toe from there, and then the Cowboys ended up coming up with a last-second field goal to beat the Giants 37-34. But again, this Joe Judge has this team going in the right direction as far as being a competitive outfit. As I mentioned, 4 to 5 games they have been competitive, and really they're just a few plays away from maybe getting 2 or 3 wins. So we'll see what happens again this Sunday against a Washington team that they really should be beating.
Yeah, no, I would 100% agree with you, man. I mean, it's right now it's tough on all ends, all fronts right now. If you're a football fan in New York, Jets and Giants. I mean, if you look at teams like Washington, it's interesting. I mean, Alex Smith is back right now, and I think that's an amazing story right there. If he continues to start and continues to be healthy and play, amazing effort that he's back, just unbelievable. I was never a big fan of Haskins. Never really thought he was really the guy. So I honestly would have thought, maybe the Giants had a better chance if Haskins was playing. To be honest, but it's interesting to see Alex Smith back. But yeah, right now it's tough with the Giants and everything. I feel you.
Yeah, no question about it. But again, two teams playing in the NFC least. The division's so bad. I mean, Cowboys lead division with just 2 wins, and everyone else is still right there. The Giants are still right there, despite being 0-5. So we'll see what happens there. But the New York Jets, they just, of course, released Le'Veon Bell, and they're 0-5 as well. How are you feeling right now as a Jets fan? And you got to be wondering, how in the world is Adam Gase still the head coach of the New York Jets?
Yeah, that is the $1,000,000 question right now, man. It really is. It's crazy. You're looking around the league, you're watching coaches like Quinn getting fired for doing a hell of a lot better than a guy like Gase, where people feel a lot better in that situation. It's crazy. I mean, like you were saying before, the Giants don't have any wins, but in their division right now, especially you mentioned with Dak going down, that was heartbreaking watching that happen. His face was tough. But they have a chance. I mean, the Jets, they don't have a prayer of a shot right now. We know it. The fans know it. Everyone knows it. It's because it bleeds dysfunction, the problem right now. I've been saying it for a while. Dysfunction always trickles down from the top. I feel like the problem is going to always start with the owners. We need better ownership. The Johnsons are not the guys. They've micromanaged this team into just god-awfulness year after year after year. But you mentioned Le'Veon Bell before. It's an interesting situation. You look at it on paper at first, and you're like, oh, another typical SOJ move. Okay, they screwed it up again. But you got to look at it again from that long perspective. I feel like Douglas is the guy, and he comes from a great background, wrote a lot about him on my site. Ozzie Newsome knows how to draft, knows how it works. The problem is, as Jet fans, we've just been so preconditioned with free agency in the past. We have GMs that don't know what the hell they're doing. They don't know how to draft a player, so they have to go into free agency, swing big, and spend all their money on these temporary fixes. So I think fans were a little disappointed that, the team is this depleted because of all the years in the past. A guy like Douglas comes in, he doesn't do that miracle quick fix like the other guys did, and they're like, oh, what's happening? We suck. It's going to take a while. It's not going to be necessarily fun in the beginning, but it's going to be a process. And I think Douglas is the guy to build the Jets back into playing ability, into being something great.
Yeah, no question about it. And as far as their quarterback, I would not give up on Sam Darnold until they go out and put some real talent around Sam Darnold.
You nailed it.
They have not had a number 1 receiver, let's be honest. They have not had a number 1 receiver in the time that Sam Darnold has been there. You thought you had that number 1 running back in Le'Veon Bell. That obviously did not work out. They are building that offensive line back a little bit, but they got to put some more talent around Sam Darnold before they say, hey, let's get up on this guy. Because honestly, when Sam Darnold is upright, he can play. But the problem is, he's not upright enough.
And not even that. He needs someone to throw the ball to. I mean, right now he's only got a guy like Jamison Crowder. That's it. I literally wrote in an article, I'm glad you brought that up. I've been yelling this till I'm like blue in the face, that it's not Sam. It isn't. I mean, you were talking about Adam Gase before. Ryan Tannehill's the perfect example. Before Adam Gase got his mitts on him, that guy was putting up 4,000 yards a year. He wasn't great, but he was good. He was fantasy relevant. Then Gase gets in there. The guy, he's so bad, he actually considers retiring. Like, I gotta hang this up. I must suck. Then, gone with Gase, he's in the best years of his career. He looks better than he's ever been. He destroyed the Buffalo Bills the other night. So it's definitely Gase. We've seen it with other players, too, across the board. Robbie Anderson, better this year. Kendrick Drake, better when Gase has got his hands off of him. The same thing is going to happen to Sam Darnold. You mentioned it, just no team around him. I wrote an article the other day. It's like that definition of insanity. We tried it with Mark Sanchez back in the day. He had a team. Tannenbaum built a team around that man, and he took him all the way to the AFC Championship twice. Then Team of Rhodes falls apart. There's nobody around Sam Darnold. He doesn't have even close to the kind of talent that Sanchez had, and he's an infinitely better quarterback. Sam Darnold has more passing yards than any Jets quarterback ever in his first 2 years. We loved him. We thought he was the man. This year he's starting to regress. He's 23 years old. I think it's unbelievable that fans are like, he's washed up. He's done. It's over. You got to build the team. That means trading back multiple times. I want 15, 20 picks in this draft. You got to build a team.
Yeah, I mean, and for those fans that are saying, hey, trade for Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence is not going to come in here and light it up if you have the same type of talent that you have around Sam Darnold with Trevor Lawrence. It's not going to happen. It's just going to be, like you said, rinse and repeat, doing the same exact thing. And as we know, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
No, that's exactly it. That's what it feels like. And it's frustrating. I can understand where Jet fans are coming from. Again, we saw it in the past, like with the GMs. They spend a lot of money. They make big splashes in free agency. It's exciting. I was guilty of it myself. I was enjoying those splashes. Oh, look who they signed. Look who they got. But that's not how you build a team. That's the bad GM's game. You got to build through the draft. That's why they got rid of Le'Veon Bell. If he got hurt, they'd owe him $8 million more, and they have to pay him anyway. Let him go. Cut him loose. Got to build around young guys. There's a changing of the guard. I see it with Douglas. I know he's doing it right. Best example, his draft this year. The Jets, it's like it's not a mystery to what they are bad at. The offensive line is bad. They hadn't taken an offensive lineman before Mekhi Becton in the first round in 15 freaking years. And when they did that last time, lo and behold, D'Brickashaw Ferguson, Nick Mangold. Same draft, staples of that line for a decade. Becton's going to be that, and I'm just hoping with his injury right now they don't force him to play too early. He's got a bad shoulder injury. I don't like that he came into that Broncos game. My opinion, I know Gase is coaching for his job. I don't care. Shut the man down. Same with Sam. That's our future. Don't hurt them into early retirement.
Exactly. And speaking of offensive line play, the Giants have suffered with offensive line play over the past few years due to bad drafting, due to not really replenishing the offensive line like they're supposed to. But it looks as though they may have finally gotten it right with that left side with guys like Thomas and Hernandez. That left side looks really solid. Now, you got to get the rest of that line up to speed from the center to the right guard to the right tackle. Let's see how the Giants do going forward. And me personally, I think the Giants have a real problem as far as their general manager. I think Gettleman has to go. Hopefully this will be his last season in charge. And get Joe Judge, a real general manager in here that's going to build this team the right way, because really, that's what the Giants are suffering from. They're suffering from a severe lack of talent.
Yeah, no, you see it on both sides right now. It's like the story is that is what the story is in New York. You have two young, promising quarterbacks, both top picks, excellently talented. The sparks are there. You see it when they play. I mean, like we said, we mentioned it with Sam Darnold. If everyone could just forget about this season, the last 2 years, they loved the kid. They were talking about how great he looked, his best quarterback the Jets have ever had at this point, the throws he was making, the decisions he was making. When he played his first game, he was the youngest quarterback to ever play in NFL history. It's 3 years later. The kid's only 23 years old. He's as old as most guys that are coming in. So I just, like you said before, I just don't get the logic. I don't know everyone's willing to just throw him away. The problem is obviously everything else. There's no talent. You said it before. Wide receiver, Jamison Crowder. That's it. There's no running backs right now. The Bell's gone. On defense, they got no guys that can cover worth anything. It's bad. It's really, really bad. And it's going to take time to build. I mean, if you're going to build through a draft, I mean, I would use the Raiders, as one of the best examples. When Mike Mayock, who is considered, one of the greatest draft minds of all time, that's why they hired him. Everyone listens to what Mayock has to say. So if he's one of the best, he came into a bad, volatile situation. It took him 3 years. 3 years later, they look awesome. They look like the team. So if it took him 3 years, I just think it's not fair that after 1 year people are blaming Douglas. It doesn't make sense to me.
No, it doesn't make sense at all. It doesn't make sense at all. And Josh Jacobs, for the Raiders, how awesome is that guy? That guy's amazing. running back, no question about it. But so where do you want to go next as far as Giants or Jets, or do you want to go to another Jersey subject? Where do you want to go, Ash?
Oh well, yeah. Let's go back to those. We'll come back to those Giants in a sec. But I'm just gonna have a quick shout out, not too long, because I know it was painful to watch, to my New York Yankees. I'm a big Yankee fan. The big problem with the Yankees this year was injuries. I mean, we all saw it. Halfway through the season, before everyone got hurt, the Yankees were the best team in baseball. They looked better than they did in 2009 when they won the pennant. I was ready to get my World Series jersey. I was set. They looked amazing. That team was great, but they just got hit with the injury bug hard. It's understandable this year with the corona and everything, but it sucks because, again, I remember their record was like it was something ridiculous for a while. Like it was like 26-2, like something nuts. They looked like the best team. So it was tough that, they lost in that first round of the playoffs. It was a good series, but we'll see what happens. Hopefully, if, guys get healthy, they can come back the way they did this year and stay healthy. I think the Yankees have some promise, especially because they're a young team. Unlike teams in the past that are pretty old, they got a lot of young guys in there.
Yeah, no question about it. I think the biggest thing the Yankees really need to address, honestly, well, two big things, really. Starting pitching depth and the cap situation with Gary Sanchez. Do you keep him? Do you get rid of him? Where do you think the Yankees are leaning with Gary Sanchez, considering that he didn't even play the last few games of the playoff series, which you guys got knocked out?
I mean, it's interesting. The Yankees, like anyone would say when you ask them, they talk about the Bronx Bombers, they're unique. They're like a special team that does their own thing, surprising everybody. They have tons of money. You've seen it in the past. They'll take a guy that everyone's like, oh, his contract is so huge. They won't do anything, and they'll just eat it, or they'll just trade him away and eat a whole ton of money. So, I mean, again, I would want to say that, he's got such a big contract, it's going to be hard to move. But again, it's the Yankees. We've seen it before. They could just choose to eat unbelievable amounts of money and just trade him away to somebody.
Yeah, no question about it. And again, to address the starting pitching depth behind Garrett Cole, I mean, Paxton got hurt, no doubt. Tanaka, not as reliable as he was in the past. Harrison, hold on one second. I'll be right back.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, no, it's been tough with the Yankees, man. I mean, like I said, the biggest thing has been injuries this year. I feel like if you look at the team before injuries, like I said, everyone felt it. They looked like the best team in baseball. Everyone was saying it. Everyone was excited about it. They felt, this was the Yankees' year again. So there are a lot of issues. I mean, the Yankees always address their issues well, so we'll see what they do through, free agency and things like that. But I think the biggest thing with them, is going to be just staying healthy. That's the biggest thing. Just staying healthy, maybe getting, maybe a better, conditioning coach to stay healthy. We'll see. But while we're waiting for Pierre, my guys, let's go back to that Gase. He brought up Adam Gase before, which is the elephant in the room. Everyone's talking about it. And like we said, we saw before, other guys are getting fired. I've mentioned it before earlier when I was with Mr. Larry on his podcast with IE Sports Radio. If you look at the problem, it's like we said, the owners. I mean, take Adam Gase, take the owners. If I were to tell you, I'm talking about someone that, is stubborn. I'm talking about somebody that is set in their ways, isn't willing to change, digs their heels in, narcissistic. You think I'm talking about them both. And that's the problem. I think they fit so well together that the dynamic works. I don't know whether it's the Johnsons that they claim to love him. It could be true. Maybe they really just love his mind because, they're very similar in personality. I really don't know. But I will say this, because they are stubborn and it's not their MO to, admit when they're wrong. They've done it in the past. They'll ride the bad guy out. It's rare for them to make a big change. So I wouldn't be shocked, if we don't see him fired this year at all. We may have to ride him out the rest of the year. I mean, a lot of fans are talking about, tanking, getting that first pick. Again, it comes down to, look at the team, okay? Sam Darnold, like we said, is a great young quarterback. Does Trevor Lawrence have the potential to be better down the road? Yeah, without question he could be, but he's a rookie. No one comes out great as a rookie. There's a learning curve. There's people to work with. And again, who the hell's he throwing to? I don't care who you put at quarterback. If you look at this team, there's no one to catch the ball. It's no wonder that when Jamison Crowder makes the catch, it looks great and everyone else looks like scrubs. We saw balls going through their hands. You need to build a team, and the only way to build a team is through the draft. People talk about, top picks going high. Look at all the drafts we've seen in the past. I mean, take any, go back, watch any draft you want to go watch. Look at those first couple of rounds. So many, the majority of them are busts. They didn't make it, they didn't work out, or they got hurt. Something didn't happen. And then all these guys in the later rounds, guys like the Stephon Diggs of the world, where teams are like, oh, I wish I could go back and draft in the beginning. The point is, nobody knows. You don't know. So the more picks you have, the better. If you want to build a team, yeah, you could take Trevor Lawrence and maybe get 5, 6 other players. Or you could trade back and get the biggest haul you've ever seen, because they've built this kid into a legend. People are saying he's like the greatest ever playing. He's never played in the NFL. So I'm telling you, you trade back, we could wind up a couple times, 15, 20 picks possibly, build a team. You do something like that, you have faster turnaround, you build that team around the quarterback. And then like we said, you look at Sanchez. He is not as talented as Darnold, but he had the talent around him to succeed. His Santonio Holmeses, his Braylon Edwards, his Dustin Kellers, which, by the way, talking about freaking tight end, I know every Jet fan is just pissed at Chris Herndon. I mean, 2018, he was great, one of the best tight ends. 2019, he gets hurt. Everyone's all excited about him this year. He's been awful. He has not been good at all. Dropping balls, bad awareness. He literally looks like he's not trying. And it just... That's not the kind of guy you want in the locker room. I mean, especially if you're trying to rebuild a team right now, to a good status. You don't want guys that are toxic like that. That's part of the reason Douglas got rid of Adams. Part of the reason he's willing to let Le'Veon walk. Because toward the end of the season, he could run his mouth, could be a little upset about the way things are going, or, God forbid he can get hurt, and then that would be a whole thing. So, like I've been saying, he knows what he's doing. He's invested. How's Pierre? You there, my friend?
I'll tell you what. Well, as far as tight ends, we got the same problem because Evan Ingram, he's a guy that looks like he has all the tools in the world. I mean, built like a tank, but yet we see games from him where he drops passes, can't block. We knew he couldn't block coming out of college, but we at least expected you to be a better receiver than you have been, and he has not shown it. And given the fact that the Giants really don't have a number one type receiver, he needs to be the best option in the pass game that we have, and he's not. In fact, it's Darius Slayton. Darius Slayton is a more reliable pass catching option than Evan Ingram.
Yeah, and that just goes. Wasn't Slayton an undrafted guy?
Yes, he was.
Just goes to prove that point. You never know who's going to be, who's going to hit.
Exactly. Yeah, undrafted guy out of Auburn, but I'll tell you what, Slayton shows up big every single week.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, but I'm glad you mentioned Evan Ingram because I felt this for a long time. Maybe you could tell me, I'm right, I'm wrong. I feel like when you have a tight end, specifically a tight end, the most important thing for a guy like that is A, to be able to block and, chip guys, but also he's not making quick lateral moves. He's the kind of guy that, goes 4 yards upfield, turns around, makes the catch, like a Travis Kelce, and uses power to go through. That is the opposite of Evan Ingram. So from the day he was drafted, I always saw him more like a Mike Evans, like an outside guy with his speed, a red zone threat.
Right, and he should be somewhere close to that, but unfortunately he isn't. It's just inconsistency, and then not being able to stay on the field. I mean, as we all know in football, or really in any walk of life, but particularly sports, your biggest ability is available. And he's had issues with that as well.
Yeah, no, 100%. Before we were talking a little bit about, the Giants and their quarterback situation. Like you said, the offensive line, it's the biggest problem. I mean, you look at the best teams in the league, They have good offensive lines. They know that football, without question, is won and lost in the trenches. That's what it's all about. Those blocks, the contact, offense and defense. If you don't have a good line, you never play well. I mean, best example is you want to go back in time. Look at a guy like Archie Manning. Peyton and Eli both say he was greater than they ever were. But the problem was he was running for his life the whole time. I remember watching that guy play in highlights. He would run 30 yards laterally just to be able to make a throw. So you need to have that offensive line. Before we were talking about Daniel Jones. I don't know if you want to give your opinions on him. I'm a big ACC guy. I watched him play at Duke. I think he's the real deal. But if you want to tell the people what you think.
I do think he is the real deal for sure. As I mentioned before, I didn't like the pick at first, but he showed me a lot last season, and he's continuing that this season. It's been a little slow for him, but again, Saquon Barkley, that was certainly cripple anyone's plans. But again, I mean, and also too, because of COVID, they didn't have a normal offseason either. So that has definitely had an impact. And new coaching staff, learning a new offense, and again, all of that has had an impact on Daniel Jones. But to answer your question, yes, I do think he is the real deal. I would not give up on him for a second just yet.
Without question, yeah. We're going to come back to talking a little more about it, but I wanted to go into the chat section here. I saw a bunch of you guys were asking some questions, which again, feel free throughout the show. Text us whatever you want. Send us a question you have, anything you want us to address, talk about it. More than happy to. So I want to talk about Taryn right here. Talked about he sees the Giants winning this week. Pierre mentioned that a little bit earlier. I don't know if, Pierre, you want to talk maybe again about, that Giant Redskin matchup.
I mean, I feel like it's a winnable game. I mean, again, Washington's not all that. I mean, they got about the same talent level as the Giants. And, again, the Giants, going into the Dallas game, believe it or not, they're actually fifth in the league in defense. And speaking of free agents, it seems as though the Giants did hit on a couple. Blake Martinez, the middle linebacker they got from Green Bay, and the corner they got from Carolina, James Bradbury. Both of those guys have been playing very good football. So hopefully that can continue, and hopefully the defense can get back to their stingy ways, unlike Dallas game last week. And I think they can.
Which, if you want to maybe talk about that too, that's one thing I never got. This year specifically, the Jets, like the Giants, they've always had good defenses. Always a solid team that can consistently, even if they may not be the best, they get to the quarterback. They have decent coverage guys. I know my Jets are literally the opposite this year. You were saying you felt the same way. I don't know if you want to talk a little about that Giant defense.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, the Giant defense has been very good. I mean, as I mentioned, fifth in the league in defense going into the Dallas game. The defense has not been the problem other than the Dallas game. The defense has not been the problem. The offense has been the problem, not putting up enough points to support that defense. But unfortunately, the game where the offense does put up points, well, the defense gives up points. So, we just got to have a game where the defense does what it's supposed to do, and the offense scores enough points to outscore the other team, and the Giants can get themselves a win column.
Yeah, and that would be great. I mean, like you said before, that the Giants are still in it. It's crazy. I mean, you hear 0-5, you figure you got to be like the Jets. Like there's no prayer of a shot really, and it's basically over. But again, like you mentioned, a lot of losing records in that division right now. Cowboys lost Dak, which again, just heartbreaking, man. I'm a big Dak Prescott fan. Watched the kid play at Mississippi State. I knew he was going to be awesome. Wanted the Jets to get him that year in one of the later rounds. I love the kid, and it broke my heart to see that happen to him. And like you said, you mentioned the Redskins. I'm hoping maybe, Alex Smith, he's amazing when he's healthy. I mean, we'll have to see what he can do now that he's back. Personally, like I said, I always thought Dwayne Haskins was not the guy. So we'll have to see. I mean, this could be a good direction change. And the Eagles, it's weird, man. I mean, it's like you look at them, they should be on paper the best of all of them. I mean, the quarterback's healthy. They got everyone they need to have. Everything should be jiving, but it doesn't make sense. Like, I don't know what's going on there. It's like a loss in translation or something.
Yeah, definitely some weird stuff going on in Philly because, like you said on paper, they do have the most talent of anyone in the division, but yet they're struggling. Why is that the case? Hopefully for them and their fans, they can get themselves right here pretty quickly, or else this season will slip away from them.
Yeah, without question. And before we were mentioning defense, with the Jets defense, it's a weird situation because if you look at them on paper, they're pretty middle of the pack. They grade out. Again, it's changed a little bit, but I believe they were about 18th overall. They're horrible again to the quarterback, bad in coverage, but they seem to grade out on paper okay. But like I was just saying, you go back to the best defenses of the Jets, the Rex Ryan, the Parcells days, the Rex Ryan days, even the Todd Bowles days when the defense was pretty good. The two things they were solid at was creating pressure, unique blitz packages, getting in the backfield. And they also had good corners, corners that could cover people and give time for the defenders to make a play. It's crazy because with the Jets, like you watch the defense, again, on paper they look good, but they can't get to the quarterback at all. They are horrible at applying pressure. We look at the first game with Josh Allen. He's walking in the end zone many times, barely able to make a dent on him. Nobody getting in the backfield. When they do, they can't wrap up. They can't bring down. If a guy gets through, it's just one, not two. Not enough effort, in my opinion. And the coverage, it's disgusting this year. I mean, you get a guy like Pierre Desir. Jet fans have been talking about him a lot lately. Dude's got great hands. I think he leads the league in interceptions right now. He's got good ball tracking awareness. But when it comes to coverage, the guy can't cover a pot of boiling water. It's just bad. He just can't cover anything. And then you got on the other side, young guys like LaShawn Austin. I love the kid. Huge fan of him coming out of Rutgers. I definitely thought he was going to be the guy. Number one shutdown corner. Looked great last year, but he's been struggling this year. I mean, he was never great in tackling. We'll give him that. But in coverage, I expected a lot more. So we're going to have to see. There's a couple of guys in the wings. Bryce Hall was an awesome pick this year, just like Bless Austin, guy that when he played in college, he looked like a first-round pick. This guy looked like he was the guy. But bad ACL injuries kept him out of play, didn't play enough. Teams weren't willing to take the risk. But again, you look at a guy like Austin, once he got healthy, he looked great. I'm thinking the same thing from Hall. I'm calling it right now. I'm thinking LaShawn Austin and Bryce Hall will be the shutdown outside cornerbacks for the Jets for a long time. Now they just got to find someone that can get to the damn quarterback.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you guys have one stud on defense. That's Marcus May. He's been good all year. That's the one stud you guys have on defense right now. I like the kid Austin myself. Bryce Hall, yes, he was a very good pick. And again, it's just a matter of getting those guys in a good scheme where they can succeed. But like you said, it doesn't matter what scheme you have. If you can't get to the quarterback, I don't care how good your corners are, it's not going to happen. You got to get to the quarterback, as you've already mentioned.
Yeah, no, Pierre, you nailed it. That's exactly it. I mean, unless you're the Jets and you have no wide receivers that can create separation to save their lives anyway, the majority of teams have receivers, good guys that belong in the NFL. And they're going to get separated. If you can't get to the quarterback, it doesn't matter how good your coverage guys are. I mean, the problem is right now they can't cover to begin with is the problem, but it doesn't matter how good they are. You could have Darrelle Revis and Cromartie back. If they're out there for 20 seconds, they're not keeping the coverage. It's just not happening. So you need a guy that can get to the quarterback. I mean, I really, really feel like wrote an article about him the other day. The undrafted free agent that the Jets got, Bryce Huff, that guy from Memphis. Love that kid. Loved him before the Jets even got their hands on him. He consistently did better every year. Sophomore year was good. Junior year breaks out. Second All AAC. Senior year does the same thing. He blows up in the Senior Bowl and I want to say, I think it was the Cotton Bowl. He had two phenomenal games. Literally all you heard was Bryce Huff this, Bryce Huff that. He's not getting enough playing time, and it's again, you see it right now with people feel the same thing with Quinnen Williams. I mean, I personally feel like, is he a good player? Yes. Is he talented? Yes. Has he lived up to a third overall status? Not at all. But as a lot of fans are pointing out, he doesn't get the right play time. He doesn't play enough. He's not on the field. He's not in the right formations. They don't use him properly. And that just comes down to the incompetency of the team. I mean, if you don't use your players properly to their strengths, I was talking about this with fans the other day, Adam Gase is the ultimate pigeonholer. I have never seen somebody who tries to fit a square peg into a round hole more than Adam Gase. That is like his MO. You saw it with Le'Veon Bell. I mean, Damian Woody went off on him when he said it. He made Le'Veon Bell look awful. His market is probably going to be nothing right now for a little while because people are worried, does he still have it? Because Gase got his hands on him.
Yeah, no question about it. And yet somehow, some way, Adam Gase not only is still a coach in this league, he got a second coaching job. I mean, I don't understand how this guy even got hired a second time. I just don't get it.
No, I never liked the hiring. I've been flat out from that from the day he was hired. Didn't like him at Miami. Never felt he had what it took. Again, you look at the players like Tannehill's just a perfect example. Whatever he's doing, it just doesn't work. I'm not saying that he's not smart. Because obviously he has to know what he's talking about to get a job like that. Just whatever he's doing is wrong. And we've seen it plenty of times. A lot of guys can have an idea of what they think is right, but it doesn't matter if it's wrong. It doesn't matter how smart you are. It doesn't matter how good your system is. And he's proven it time and time again. And you mentioned it before. I think the Jets hired him half an hour or something after Miami fired him. It was like he barely had turnaround. It was like, take some time, look at some guys. They looked at, Matt Rule, who's been great with the Panthers, and we mentioned it before with the dysfunction and the micromanaging of the Johnsons. Rule wanted the job. He flat out came out and said, I'm not taking the job because of these guys. They literally wouldn't let him hire his own staff. They wanted to have control over everything he did. And Rule's like, I ain't having that. I can see what's going on here. I saw it in the past, saw it in the future. You see it, just what's going to happen. I do truly feel Douglas is the guy, but it just kills me because I just keep thinking, is he going to be able to do it? Are the Johnsons and Gase just sitting there controlling the show and Douglas just has to go along? I don't know, and it kills me as a fan, man.
And it's a shame because, like you said, Gase is really in control because, if I'm not mistaken, he got hired before Douglas did, correct?
He did, and not only that, when they got rid of McCagnon, they made him GM and coach temporarily. I mean, who the hell do they think this guy is? Bill Belichick?
I mean, not everyone can be a GM and a head coach at the same time. It just doesn't work. I mean, in most cases, it just doesn't. But again, hopefully, it will work out for our New York football teams, and hopefully this will be the week that the turnaround can get started.
Yeah, and I'm 100% with you. So going back to the chat, guys, to see what you guys are putting out here, which, again, appreciate it. Keep sending it along. Anything you want to talk about, we'll bring up. Somebody was talking about, the Jets going 0-16. Only winnable games could be against teams like the Dolphins and the Chargers. Not the Chargers, man. I've been saying it for a while. You can go back. I re-quoted it back a while ago. Before this draft happened, I was saying, when everyone was saying Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert is the guy. I loved that kid. Watching him throw the ball, his intelligence. He throws one of the most perfect footballs I've ever seen coming out of college. Loved that kid. Everything he had. I felt like he was going to be the best of this draft, and it's early, but so far it looks that. So I don't know if that Charger game is very winnable. And same thing with the Dolphins. We saw that last week. They put up 40-something points. Ryan Fitzpatrick is the man that just keeps giving. That guy played for, like 8-something teams now? And he's had successful seasons with all of them. Considering this guy was a 7th-round pick, Ryan Fitzpatrick deserves so much more credit than that man gets.
A 7th-round pick out of Harvard.
Yeah.
Tell you what, he's got the beard going as well. I am a fan of Ryan Fitzpatrick's beard, but yes, I don't think either one of those games are winnable. I mean, with the way the Jets are playing right now, I would not count those as winnable games without a doubt. And going back to your point about Justin Herbert, really, he's got all the tools. The only question about Justin Herbert was his accuracy coming out of college, and he has shown to be pretty accurate thus far. But again, it is early. Let's see where he is week 10, week 11, week 12.
Yeah, and I'm 100% with you, man. We're just going to have to wait and see. But if we look here, I want to thank Adam. He's been asking a couple of questions. Adam was talking about, Gase was pretty good when he was an offensive coordinator, but he hasn't been good as a head coach. I feel like that's a little bit of a misnomer, and I feel like it's, again, because you look at when he was offensive coordinator. When he was offensive coordinator, he was under the brilliant, look at what his son's doing, Kyle. He was under the great mind of Shanahan, the father. He had hell of a weapons around him, and he had Peyton Manning. That team had Peyton Manning, Demaryius Thomas, Julius Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders. All Gase had to do was not muck it up. He just had to step out of the way and let Peyton be Peyton. I mean, many argue and say right now they think Peyton did it in spite of Gase. I mean, so we'll have to see, but that's the same reason we look at, some of these guys underneath. People want to get rid of Logains. You got to throw Jim Bob Cooter into that mix, too. I mean, first of all, the running backs have looked like crap this year. That's his job. Secondly, people talk about the success he had with the Lions. Track it back, though. You learn your offense from whoever you're the assistant under. Always the case. He was the assistant under Gase. He learned his offense from Gase. Maybe it worked in Detroit, but we got a clean house. I published an article a while back about the interim head coaches. You want my opinion? Gase gone, Logan's gone, Cooter gone, Williams, the defensive guy, gone. I want Frank Pollock, the offensive line coach, has had unbelievable success with offensive lines everywhere he's been. Cowboys line was magic when he touched it everywhere he's been. Same thing with guys like Sean Jefferson, the wide receivers coach. He's arguably credited for why Calvin Johnson had such great years. He had great years with the Titans. Both of them have been around for a long time, long tenure. Those are some guys I'd like to see possibly get a shot.
Yeah, no question about it. And speaking of Detroit, boy, do they regret firing Jim Caldwell, because it has been nothing but a disaster under Matt Patricia.
No, it has been. It's crazy. I mean, you look at it, it's interesting. I mean, I think Mike Vrabel is the only true exception, but it's been with all of Belichick's guys, again, excluding Vrabel. Everyone who's flown the coop, McDaniels, they all were bad as head coaches. They all failed. They all didn't have the system in place. I mean, if anything, it's a testament to Bill Belichick, and why he's so great. I mean, the birds fly the coop and they fail. That's going off a little off topic. That's part of the reason as a Jet guy, and I just want to throw this out, you don't want Eric Bieniemy. You want nothing to do with Bieniemy. Trust me. Look at that team. Patrick Mahomes, it's like Adam Gase back when he was offensive coordinator. He's got Patrick Mahomes, the guy that literally makes the impossible throws possible. He's got unbelievable talent. I mean, Hill and Kelsey alone are two of the best at their positions. Bieniemy really just, again, like Gase back in Denver, has to step out of the way, not get in anybody's way. Plus, it's been speculated, does he call some, but it's in question. People believe Andy Reid is the main play caller there, which means Bieniemy, it's going to be just like all of Belichick's guys. He flies the coop, that's it. I mean, my guy, I get him to him a little bit. I think the best guy for the Jets right now is Arthur Smith, the guy with the Tennessee Titans. Because again, you just look at what he did. He took a guy like Tannehill, who was great before Gase got there. Gase got his hands on him, guy wanted to retire. He was playing so bad. Then, boom, best years of his career. He built around his strengths. I like him a lot. I was looking a lot into, one of my followers mentioned Roman, the guy with the Ravens. I was looking at him a lot. You look at what the Ravens have done, it's unbelievable. I mean, they literally built an offense around Lamar Jackson. Their offensive coordinator went out in the offseason, took time, threw the old playbook in the garbage, and made a new playbook based around the strengths of Lamar. And we have seen nothing but amazingness from those Baltimore Ravens. Lamar looks like one of the best quarterbacks, and he didn't look it before they changed that offense.
Yeah, no question about it. Going back to your Eric Bieniemy point, I think the Jets should take a good, long, hard look at a guy like Eric Bieniemy. I personally think he is head coach material, but if I'm Eric Bieniemy, I stay right there in Kansas City. I wait for Andy Reid to retire. You got Mahomes there, who will probably be there for the next decade, maybe 15 years. If I'm Eric Bieniemy, I'm not going anywhere. I am waiting on Andy Reid to retire. He's not going to coach much longer. I think Reid maybe has 2 or 3 more years left in him, and then once Reid is gone, they're going to elevate Bieniemy to the head coach, no question about it. They're going to give him a nice bumper contract, no question about it. And if I'm Bieniemy, I wouldn't go anywhere. Makes no sense for you to go anywhere because Kansas City, they're going to build that thing around Mahomes. They're going to continue to build that thing around Patrick Mahomes. So if I'm Bieniemy, I'm not going anywhere. I'm waiting on Andy Reid to retire.
It's a good point. I mean, definitely that could be one of his best options. Again, we'll have to see. I mean, I again, could be totally wrong. The vibe I get from it is, it's more Andy Reid, kind of like the Belichick situation. But we'll have to see. I mean, it's definitely possible. Bieniemy could definitely be a top head coach guy. But We got some more questions over here. Some guys are mentioning Sam Darnold is not the problem. We see it on Jets Twitter right now. You see everyone screaming for Trevor Lawrence. They want Trevor Lawrence. They want Trevor Lawrence. But like we talked about before, you have to build a team. And I mean, unless you're going to go out and do it wrong and spend a lot of money in free agency on guys that don't deserve it because their own team either couldn't pay them or didn't pay them, you got to build through the draft. That's how you do it. That's how all the good teams do it. Look at the Patriots. They maybe sign one, two guys in free agency. They do something like they did this year where they get a Cam Newton and he fixes everything because all the pieces are already there. Everything's in place. You're not going out to build that team in free agency. So if you're going to build a team, you got to do it through the draft. So again, the argument I'd make before is I'm not going to argue. Trevor Lawrence is unbelievable. I mean, mentioned before, I'm a huge ACC fan. My parents live down in South Carolina, right by Clemson. Been to games, watch all the time. I'm a huge Clemson fan, huge Trevor Lawrence fan. I hope the guy has unbelievable success in the NFL. I just feel like it's not the best option. Like Taryn was saying in the questions, Sam Darnold has unbelievable talent. Again, we saw it in the first 2 years. Just forget about this year. I know it's hard to do, but you just got to take it out of your mind before this year. Again, most passing yards in Jet history, most promise we've ever seen, making unbelievable throws, great reads, good pocket awareness. Even last year when the offensive line was garbage. I mean, we look at it last year, the offensive line was garbage, but at least he had Robbie Anderson to throw the ball to. Now all he's got is Jamison Crowder, and if Crowder's not catching the ball, nobody's catching the ball. And we saw it with Joe Flacco. Everyone thought Flacco would come in, look great. He didn't. It's because, again, you can't just plug a quarterback, no matter how good they are, into a dysfunctional situation. You need a team around them.
Exactly. And I got to be honest, if the Jets do end up with that number one pick, I love your idea. Trade out of that spot, collect a bunch of picks, and build a squad. Start building a squad. I get the feeling that's exactly what Joe Douglas is going to do. Trade that pick and build you a squad because you're not just one Trevor Lawrence away from being good. You're not.
No, that's exactly it. And like I said, you could go back, look at my Twitter. I've been saying it till I'm blue in the face, exactly what Pierre just said. Douglas knows what he's doing. He's the guy. We could say whatever we want, but he's going to make the right decisions. Like with Le'Veon Bell, like a perfect example. When we all first looked at it, we're like, oh, typical SOJ move. They cut their best player on the field. But when we took a step back and we looked at it, we're like, okay, I see what you're doing. This makes sense. You're preparing for the future. You're getting yourself ready to be in a position to succeed. And like I said, I think it's just because of the toxic environment these owners have put us in. I mean, our last GM was Maccagnan. Before that was Itzik. We have to go back like post a decade ago to get back to good GMs, to get back where we had guys that knew how to build a team, like Tannenbaum did. Like I said, you go through the talent on that team, offense and defense that Sanchez had, that team was stacked. There was a reason they were in that AFC Championship back-to-back years. Then, like we said, 2012, not great. 13 rolls around. They figure, okay, he's not the guy. My apologies. 2011 wasn't great. Then in 2012, they let everyone go. All the talent's gone. Holmes is gone. Holmes got hurt. Edwards was gone. Keller was garbage. And the team around him, everyone thought Sanchez was all of a sudden magically bad. And you go for Geno Smith in 2013. And ever since then, it's just been this unbelievable dysfunction of not knowing how to draft, whiffing on your picks, having no foundation to build off of, and trying to fix it in free agency, trying to grab those pieces like Maccagnan in 2019. That dude, oh my God, he spent $250 million in free agency. He spent the Johnsons' money like it was going out of style. It was crazy. And that's not how you win. That's not how you build a successful team. You look at half those guys Maccagnan signed, half of them aren't even on the team anymore, yet you're still paying them.
Exactly. And really, going back to your point about Mark Sanchez, I think the biggest mistake the Jets made back then, going into that 2011 season, 2009, 2010, you had the formula. Run the ball, play action pass, play good defense. That formula got the Jets to 2 AFC title games. Damn near got them to a Super Bowl. So, what does Rex Ryan decide to do? we're going to turn the offense over to Mark Sanchez. We're going to throw the ball more. And that was the biggest mistake that they ever made, and the Jets went downhill from there. It made no sense. You had the formula. Stick with the formula that you had success with. You don't change it up. That was ridiculous. Never understood why they did that.
Yeah, no, it's tough, and that's again why I see it on Twitter. It's crazy. Fans are literally calling it quits. It's crazy. I mean, I'm a diehard. I'm going to be there riding it out until the end. But a lot of fans, even ones that have been there for a while, they just, even if they're just tuning it out till the end of Gase, they can't take it anymore. They're watching this dysfunction happen in front of their eyes. And again, I think Douglas expected this year to not be great. I mean, again, he came in with a team just this depleted and devoid of talent, only had one draft to build it up. Again, made the right moves. Mekhi Becton, right move. Denzel Mims, he's hurt right now, but you can't fault a guy for that. That was the right move. That guy has the potential to be amazing. And some of the other picks, Ashton Davis, he's been hurt, but he could be really good. I was never that big on Perrine, but he's been playing well. Their punter's been solid. If you look at it, I mean, even in the first year, these guys are looking pretty good.
Yeah, no question about it. And just to make a Giants point, I mean, as far as people being tired of stuff, I mean, us as fans, we're tired of the losing. Going into this year, 3 straight losing seasons, haven't made the playoffs since 2016, and even with that playoff appearance, that was a blowout loss at Green Bay, in which the Giants were never in the ball game. And then, I mean, really, going back to 2013, it's been nothing but losing seasons other than 2016. So, yeah, I mean, us Giants fans, we're sick of it. And we're on our 3rd head coach since 2013. But I like this. I like Joe Judge. He has his team going in the right direction. Even if it's not showing up at the win column just yet, he does have his team going in the right direction. Really, the Giants are just missing talent. And they need talent. They need to build the draft, sign the right free agents, which it appears that they've done this season with guys like Martinez and Bradbury. But we need more help. You got to get more weapons for Daniel Jones. You need to get Saquon Barkley back healthy next season. That's a huge priority for the Giants, no doubt. And then we'll see where we'll go from there. But, hey, there's still 11 games left in the season. This season's not over yet. There's still 11 games left. And the Giants playing one of the weaker divisions. They can still make something of this season if they really want to.
You know, I agree. And that's what's crazy. It's unbelievable that a team that's 0-5 actually, still has a chance. And again, it just shows, the different strengths of divisions. So yeah, the Giants, without question, are still in this. They could definitely turn it around. I mean, you said they need a lot more pieces, but we'll have to see. I'm glad you mentioned Gettleman before. I mean, you mentioned GM's job is supposed to get the right guys in the right positions. And just so far, I mean, he got Barkley. He got Jones. I don't know if I want to necessarily turn it in on him yet. I feel like he's not the worst at talent evaluation. He's brought in some good guys. I'd kind of like to see who else he could do, like you were saying, with those top picks, if he can get more talent and surround Jones with what he needs to succeed. But the biggest thing you mentioned before with Joe Judge, which is really fascinating, it's such a unique situation that we normally don't see in football. Joe Judge is more like, he's like a managerial head coach. With every team, like we see with the Jets, every team, there's always a head coach in place that is either offensive-oriented and runs the offense, or defense-oriented and runs the defense. Judge is just so fascinating because he's the kind of guy who's like, okay, I came from Belichick. I know how football is supposed to be. I know what's supposed to happen. I'm going to put all the right people in the right positions around me and step back and let them succeed. So it's a very interesting situation. If you want to maybe talk about that a little bit.
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, it does help to have a former head coach on staff, a guy like Jason Garrett. That does help. No question about it. That does help where Joe Judge can be in more of that managerial position. And it also helps that Joe Judge was the special teams coach. So he really doesn't lean offense or defense for me. He probably leans more special teams, if anything. which is often an overlooked part of the game. I mean, really, we haven't brought some teams down on this show, to be honest with you. That's how much is overlooked. I mean, we talk about offense, talk about defense, but special teams is a huge part of the game. If you're not good in the kicking game, you're not going anywhere in this league.
Yeah, no, it's true. And if you wanted the best example, the Jets can be your best example with that. They've been devoid of a kicker ever since they let Nick Folk go. They haven't been able to find anybody. They don't have anyone that can kick. It's the biggest problem with them. They've lost plenty of games by a point, by a field goal, by 2 points. It's bad, and you need a kicker. Special teams is important too, field position. That's why Braden Mann, the Jets pick, is such an underevaluated pick, underappreciated. He's a really good punter. You watched him in college. I feel like he's going to be that kind of coffin corner guy. That guy's going to be putting people in strategic positioning, which we've seen it in Super Bowls and playoff games. Literally, it comes down to that. Teams that are in the wire, neck to neck, and because one punter pinned the other team in by the end zone and they couldn't get a drive going, or they got a safety or something, that is the deciding factor that ends the game. So it's just interesting. Special teams is really important. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to mention about your Giants.
No, I think I got everything out for this week.
Okay, cool. One thing I'd like to talk quick about with the Jets with the last couple of minutes we have. We mentioned before, how this season it's over. I mean, it is what it is. We make the best we can. We got to look toward the future. If you're looking at draft, there's a couple of interesting guys in that draft if you want to look at. For example, you guys love Mekhi Becton. What if I told you there was a prospect out there that's, you ready for this? Bigger than him. He is taller and larger than Mekhi, but moves just as well. The kid's name is Daniel Falil. He plays for Minnesota. Take a look at that kid. You put Becton on one end and him on the other, you got a metric ton right there of amazingness just between the two of them. Obviously you go top. If the Jets do wind up in the top again, I think trading back is the best option. Otherwise, you got a top tackle like Penei Sewell. You got Jamar Chase, who is my guy. I love Jamar Chase. Even though Justin Jefferson was a big component, I personally feel that Jamar Chase was the reason that Burrow was so amazing last year. This guy is a plug-and-play wide receiver one from day one. There is no coaching needed with this kid. And if you're looking, at cornerback, which is another problem the Jets have, if they want to put a top pick, you got a guy like Patrick Surtain. So there's a lot of really good options in this draft. The Jets, I feel like, again, I keep saying it, but I truly do feel that Douglas is the guy. I mean, he comes from the school of Ozzie Newsome. I mean, look at the guy that found Ray Rice. He did, but forget him. The guy that found him in Ed Reed. The guy that found Ray Lewis. The guy that found legends throughout the draft process. He's arguably one of the best drafters there ever was. So Douglas needs time, but I really do feel like he could bring us back to those competitive days.
And another guy I would look at, the linebacker out of Penn State, Micah Parsons. He'll probably be gone in the top 5 or top 10. But if they could somehow get their hands on him, that would be a good look for the Jets. Tell you what, here's a look for my Giants, too, to be honest with you.
It's true. I mean, I think the Giants have a couple of good young edge rushers. I mean, I still think Lorenzo Carter's got it. I like Oshane Yazimi. I think he's got a good amount of potential. They have some guys there, and same thing with the Jets, but you need that elite edge rusher. I did a little research on this the other day. Would you believe the Jets haven't taken an edge rusher in the first couple of rounds in almost 20-something years? It goes back to like 1997 when they took James Farrior with like their first-round pick, and he was great, but not for the Jets. He was great for the Steelers. So the Jets, it's like with the offensive line. You want to look at what they're bad at? Look at what they're not drafting. Look at who they're not taking in the first couple of rounds. So you mentioned Micah Parsons. Me personally, I'm not a fan that he sat out this year. Kind of like when Le'Veon sat out, it rubs me the wrong way. But I am a big fan of Gregory Rousseau. I think he's got unbelievable talent. And there's a lot of guys in this draft. So I really do feel, Douglas' new offensive line was the problem. He went first round with that. I feel like if he trades back, he's going to go offensive line, he's going to go wide receivers, he's going to go cornerbacks, he's going to go halfbacks. He's going to build a team of young talent.
And I'm telling you, the Jets need to look at linebacker as well. They need a linebacker. I think Micah Parsons would be perfect. He's not an edge rusher. I think he's more of a space player. But the Jets need that kind of guy. They need a linebacker with speed. They need a guy that can cover. And they need a guy that can stop the run. Micah Parsons would be perfect for that squad. He's perfect for the Giants, too, to be fair. But then I expect him to be gone within the top 5 or 10 picks of the draft, depending on what the teams need, of course, and what teams are drafting.
Oh, yeah, but Micah Parsons is an unbelievable talent. Again, just because the Jets, they have a lot more pressing needs, I just feel like, he's easily a top 5 pick. I just don't see him as an option. But I'm going to throw a dark horse out at you. I know some Jet fans have liked him, watched him recently. I'm not saying he's Micah Parsons at all, but one guy that's really stepped up big for the Jets at middle linebacker, not Avery Williamson, Neville Hewitt. Neville Hewitt has been great. This kid is arguably the best, considering how bad the corners have been. He's arguably the best pass coverage guy on the Jets, period. And he's a pretty decent middle linebacker. He gets a couple of sacks. He usually leads the team in tackles every week. He's a very interesting dark horse. I think if you give him more potential and ability and a team around him, he could be something kind of like, like a Demario Davis, a guy that took a little bit of time to blossom, later round pick, but turned into something unbelievably special.
And still going strong for the Saints till this day is Demario Davis. So,
which again, just proof of the stupidity of the Jets. Jet fans know we all wanted Demario Davis, but what did the idiots say at the time? He's too old. He's old. We want to go in a younger direction. So yeah, we went with Avery Williamson, who's been good, but he ain't Demario Davis. Ever since Davis has been on the Saints, it's just his time on the Saints. He's been one of the best linebackers in the NFL. So we see this all the time with the Jets. They got to be willing to pay the guys that deserve the money, and I do feel like that's Douglas. He's frugal when it comes to it, but I feel like he'll pay a guy that deserves it. Like, he's not going to throw money at a Tremaine Johnson, but he's going to throw money at a Khalil Mack.
For sure. And again, always good talking Giants and Jets. Hasn't been good talking this year, but again, hopefully this will be the week that both teams can try to turn their seasons around.
Definitely.
All right, so how we finishing things up here, Harrison?
Yep, so we're just going to tell us a little bit about ourselves quick. So again, we're going to be doing this every week. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Please continue to do so. We're going to be talking all New York sports again. We got the chat option open. You can ask us about a specific team, specific player, your opinion, whatever you want. Again, it's going to be every Wednesday, 6 p.m. We're going to be live right on here. Feel free to tune in. Again, my name is Harrison Glazer. I am the CEO, founder of Take Flight Media. You can see my website at takeflightmedia.org, or you can find me on Twitter at my handle at NYJetsTF Media. I hope you guys come in. I'd love for you to be part of the conversation we have on Jets Twitter.
Yes, indeed. And again, my name is Pierre Moss. I am the CEO of Wellington Sports Radio, where we make sports come alive through the airwaves. And speaking of Wellington Sports Radio, we got another high school football broadcast coming for you. Irvine Blue Knights hosting the Pope John Lions this coming Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern on Wellington Sports Radio on Mixer.com. You can hear that game there. And we got all kinds of good stuff coming for you, not only on Wellington Sports Radio, but on IE Sports Radio as well. And just stay tuned. And again, please tune into this podcast. We certainly appreciate you guys in the chat section chiming in. And again, tune into this podcast. We'll be coming at you every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern.
Yep, guys, we love it. We appreciate having you again. Please tune in. Please be there. Again, love it. Love these New York sports. Love our Jets. Love our Giants. Thank you again for being part of the conversation.